What is up, guys? Welcome to the Delta Omega Dynasty podcast. I'm your boy Joey Medina, aka Carl Weezer 69, back at it again following week 4 of the NFL/ fantasy football season. And as always, recapping week 4 results as well as looking ahead to week 5. But first, since everyone else is doing it, um, I will be releasing my totally objective, mathematically solved power rankings. So some good stuff to look forward to dive into this week. So let's just do it. Without further ado, let's get on it. So, like I said in the intro, I'm releasing my power rankings. And fun fact about these power rankings, they're not any ordinary rankings. In order to ensure total objectiveness, and I don't really have anything else going on, I turn to math. Now, this is a risky area for me since I'm not really that much of a math whiz, and all of you, for the most part, are professionals and careers that involve or use a lot of math. Um, I know I'm out of my wheelhouse here, but I wanted to use and try out a self-made formula to deliver you guys an interesting array of results and maybe a little bit of a different outcome than you guys probably expected. I have no doubt in my mind that whenever I tell you guys how I solved this for these power rankings, that you guys will have your questions and let me know if my formula is just irrelevant or not right at all. Um, but nonetheless, I did it. I got to work and I figured something out to give every team a numerical value, um, and then rank them based on how that numerical value ended up. Um, so at the very least, it's mainly for fun. It's not. Don't take it too seriously. Take it for what you will, since this is fantasy football, and this is the type of activity or hobby that you need to expect the unexpected. So without further ado, let's just get into the formula. So basically, I'm just going to try to explain it as best as I can, and I can help. I can answer it in the chat if you guys are still confused. Um, but basically, the formula starts out, takes playoff percentage, the historical data of playoff percentage to the first 4 weeks of both the 2020 and the 2021 NFL seasons, respectively, I should say. Um, but so yeah, for example, uh, in the past 2 years, teams that were 4-0 after the first 4 weeks had a 100% chance to make the playoffs. Only exception was Riley, who started the season 4-0 in 2020, but he missed the playoffs because it was only a 4-team playoff. But now that we're doing a 6-team, the results have shown that starting 4-0 means you're getting in the playoffs. Um, at least up to this point. I know things can change, but just going based on what has happened in the past. Um, and then going down on records, 3-1 teams have a 66% chance to make the playoffs. 2-2 teams have a 55% chance to make the playoffs, and 1-3 teams have a 33% chance of making playoffs. And then obviously 0-4 has resulted in 0% playoff rate. So yeah, I got that. I went through all the last couple years and added those up. It wasn't too hard, obviously. Um, and so for the next part of the formula, I turned to points forward and points against, as those were two other basis points that I have at my disposal to make these rankings. So for points forward, I gave it a constant of 0.75, and that'll be multiplied by however many uh, fantasy owners, players, whatever you want to call it, you are ahead of in the category. So, for example, I think I'm number one in points forward. So 11 people are underneath me. Um, and then I did the same thing for points against, but I lowered the constant to zero point 0.5 from 0.75, as I think we all can agree points forward, I think is quite a bit more important than points allowed, just because it's out of your control, and those things are just kind of random based on how the other team performs. So I changed the constant, like I said, from 0.75 to zero point 0.5. So points allowed holds a little weight, but not as much as points forward. That's just the way I see it. And then once you add both of those together, you multiply that by the playoff percentage, and then you get your numeric power ranking. So, for those of you watching and following along at home, the formula altogether is PR, power rankings, equals 0.75 N of the number of players you are ahead of on points forward, plus zero point 0.5 times N of the players that you're ahead of on points allowed, multiplied by playoff percentage. Now, I know that's a mouthful, and you probably didn't have me talking about math on your bingo card. Is that the joke everybody's saying now? On your 2022 bingo card and for fantasy football. But nonetheless, I did math. And if the formula is not your liking, that's okay. But it was a nice way for me to get a constant formula on all these teams, and produce a numerical value. And you guys will see these rankings are kind of interesting. Um, so yeah, we already touched on the formula. Even if it's not accurate, we get the consistency for all the teams, and it ensures complete objectivity. So my opinions and gut feelings are completely out of the equation. And I think we've talked enough math. I think up to this point, it's out of the way, and so there's not much left to talk about other than to reveal my rankings to you, which I think you guys should be looking forward to. Um, we are starting at number 12 and going in, I guess, I don't know, descending order because it goes from 12 to 1. Um, so yeah, at number 12 we have Max with a score of 0.41. Um, you might think that sounds like a weird score. You will quickly see as I go down these rankings, this is extremely low. Max is 11th in points forward and 11th in points against. That combined with a 1-3 start, which let me remind you is 33% chance to make the playoffs, doesn't really bode well for immediate success this year. And this is why he ends up at number 12. Um, he's been at number 12 before, but not from numbers, just from opinion. And he's won the championship 2 years in a row. So I'm not counting out any team yet. I'm just revealing to you the results of my my findings here. Um, at number 11, we have Liam with a score of 1.16. Liam is 10th in points forward and 8th in points allowed. He's bottom four in both categories and the 1-3 start. This seems like an appropriate ranking in my opinion. Moving on to number 10, we have Hunter with a score of 1.32. Last in points forward, fourth in points allowed. The points allowed is rough, but dead last in points forward. Definitely holds his team back from making any noise this year. Another appropriate ranking in my book. Number 9, we've got Irv with a score of 2.39. He's 7th in points forward, 5th in points allowed. Not a bad team. I think the thing that's really holding this team back is that 1-3 record. Um, it's not bad. It's just not great either. And number 9 is kind of like in the hunt category for the playoffs. Not a bad ranking for what he's done thus far, but definitely a team that I think could jump up the rankings with a mini hot streak here, or at any point in the season. Moving on to number 8, we have Lewis with with a score of 2.475. Yes, I in fact said all of those decimal points because we in fact have a tie with number 7. In this case, I didn't really see it coming. I guess the math is a little simple for that to happen, but nonetheless, it came out as a tie. Um, so what I decided to do is I elected team record to be the tiebreaker, since these two teams had different records, of which Lewis came up short, being 1-3. He is 8th in points forward and 3rd in points allowed. I think 8 is maybe a little. I want to say it's good for now, obviously, but I think he's more in that 6. I guess 6 to 8. So yeah, this makes sense in the league right now. So moving on to the person he tied with at number 7, which is in fact Jansen. He has the same score, 2.475. He is both. He is ninth in both, points forward and points allowed, which contributes to his low ranking. The record keeps him afloat, keeps him in the mix, But for now, he is the first team out on this power rankings of the playoffs. Um, that's just the way it came out. I think it makes a little bit of sense. Like ninth in points forward and ninth in points allowed. I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense. The 3-1 record, nonetheless, is very nice and helps him a lot. But he needs to either score a lot more points. Yeah, I think that's just it. He just needs to score more points. The points allowed is out of his control. Um, he just needs to score more points to be seen as a actual contender this year, in my opinion. But I don't have a problem with him at number 7. I might have him a little bit higher on my own personal rankings, but this is the way it turned out. Moving on to the top 6, and at number 6 we have Tommy with a score of 3.63. Tommy is 6th in points forward, 10th in points allowed. His record gives him a bump, but for now we're seeing him at number 6, despite seeing him at the bottom half of points forward and points allowed. I know he's not really in the bottom half of points forward since he's number 6, but top 6. I guess he's in the top 6, but sort of towards the bottom, mid to bottom. But here we are. This is another one that I think the record speaks for itself, and this is why I included the record in here is because he's going to have a couple games up on some of these people that are, or some of these teams that are trying to make their way into the playoffs as it is right now. But number 6, I like it. So far, so good. Nothing egregious based on my results, in my opinion, so far. On to number 5, we have Dakota with a score of 4.26. Fun fact, this is the worst record thus far for Dakota over the last 4 weeks, or over the first 4 weeks over the last 2 years. Um, Even with that, he is 5th in points forward and 7th in points allowed. I'm pretty sure. Is this the opposite of Irv? Yep. The inverse of Irv. Um, Goes to show you that that's where the points forward are weighed in. Um, this is another one where I think he's definitely a top 6 team, and I don't have any problem at all with him being coming in at number 5. Um, to number 4, we have Kyle with a score of 6.00 or 6 even. Now Kyle's undefeated through 4, which is 100% playoff rate for a 16 playoff league. As of now, he sits at 4th in points forward and last in points against. Obviously, that's the elephant in the room. Points against is holding him back from being a little higher. But nonetheless, if I'm Kyle, I'm happy and I'm feeling good right now about my team. Um, and I think number 4 is, not too far fetched. Um, like I was saying in the chat, I think the points allowed is the only thing that's keeping him back from being a top 3 team. And I didn't really intend for this formula to prove that, but I think that's what you're seeing here. But nonetheless, hats off to him. He's undefeated. He's probably going to be undefeated. He's probably going to be undefeated for a little bit longer as well, a couple more weeks at least, I should say. And at number 3, we have myself coming in at 6.19. First in points forward, 6 in points against. I would be a little bit higher if Hunter didn't put up 43 points last week, but that's neither here nor there. I have been the consensus number 1 through personal power rankings and polls in our league through 4 weeks. And I come in at 3 at these power rankings. And I think that's fair. I mean, I'm putting up a lot of points, but you still got to get the wins. Um, this one it could be a little low, but I mean, still, I'm not complaining. I do think that number 3 isn't far off. I mean, if you like to say I'm the best, then it's pretty close. Like it's not too close, or it's not too far off from the top, anyways. I don't have a problem with number 3 here for me. Moving to number 2, we have Riley with a score of 6.46, 3rd in points forward, 2nd in points allowed. It's been a wild year for Riley so far, but he finds himself at the number 2 ranking right now. He scores a lot, and in my opinion, I feel like things aren't constant in fantasy football, so points allowed should come down as he plays more and more opponents. Um, I don't know. This is a team to watch, and I don't know. I think this is fine. I don't have a problem with that. Um, I would probably have him in the 2 to 4 or 5 range, 2 to 5 range. But I once again don't have a problem with it. And finally, number one, and I know he's got to be cheesing right now. He's got to be so excited because he knew it. He believes it in his heart that he is the best team in the league right now. And now the numbers are backing it up. And he has an absolutely huge score. Of course, I'm talking about Trevor with a whopping 8.58, second in points forward, first in points allowed. Now, I know what I'm thinking about right now is I'm thinking it's like I'm starting to see that the points forward and points allowed aspects of the formula are heavily weighed, and for teams like Riley and Trevor, who are top three in both categories, um, they're getting a huge bump because that's weighed into the equation. But it is what it is. Trevor's second in points forward, first in points allowed. Um, but even when I said that the points forward and points allowed kind of weighs a lot in this formula, I don't think anyone really has that much of a problem. I mean, I really don't of putting Trevor at number one. He's 3-1 while being outscored these first 4 weeks, meaning he's got more points against than points forward, but yet he's still 3-1. Um, He's also got Lamar, Derrick Henry, Austin Eckler, and Debo, all capable of absolutely going nuclear and dashing anyone's hopes. Excuse me, and dashing anyone's hopes at achieving victory when you play Trevor. Um, this is a second straight season. I'm pretty sure he was 12-1 last year. Um, 12-1 last year going into the playoffs, and then had some injury problems. Um, this is a team that I predicted to be 12-2, and I wasn't feeling too good about it. But now I'm starting to feel a lot better about that prediction. And this is definitely a team to watch and to be on the championship radar for the second straight season. So yeah, there's the rankings. We laid them out. Um, I don't really have any concerns. Nothing too egregious. There were probably a couple misplacements on my own personal rankings, but that was kind of the ballpark. Everyone was kind of in the ballpark where I kind of had them in my own, just off the top of my head. I haven't made any official subjective ones yet. Um, but we got through all the math, got through the power rankings. So let's move on to the week 4 recap. Um, and, I think we're going to try something new this week. Um, since the power rankings, I don't know how long that took, but it took a little bit longer than my opening segments usually take. Um, so I'm gonna change up week 4 results. Usually I just go through and have a couple bullet points I talk about. And that'll still be kind of the premise of what I talk about in week 4, but it'll be based it'll my analysis will be based off the popular Colin Cowherd segment, the 3-word game that he plays for NFL. Um, it's inspired me to do the same with each week 4 matchup. And since I'm not a professional, I don't do this for a living. I'm going to give myself a little bit of leeway, and I'm going to make it the 4-word game. So it should be fun. Maybe you guys will get a kick out of it. So yeah, let's do it. The 4-word game for the Delta Omega Dynasty League week 4 results. We're getting into it, starting with myself versus Hunter. The 4 words phrase is not so swift recovery. Now this works on a couple different levels. First and foremost, sorry. First and foremost, Javante is out for the year with an ACL and LCL injury, which is tough to see, but great for Hunter, who might be tanking a little bit. Of course, you never want to see your star young cornerstone get hurt like that, but it's going to help him get that better pick if he needed the help. On the flip side, it seems like Deandre Swift will be out for the next couple of weeks with injuries to both his ankle and his shoulder. Jamal Williams should continue to eat on the NFL's top offense thus far. And contradictory to the phrase, my lineup has recovered swiftly. Yeah, these are going to be kind of cheesy, so just bear with me. I'm having a lot of fun doing it. So, moving on to the next game, Riley versus Irv. Unexpected entrance of Sandman. This is a pun on the Metallica song Enter Sandman for all you rock haters out there. But Miles Sanders, 27 carries, 134 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I get it. It was a raining game, but still a great game out of Sanders. And it proves to be the ultimate difference in the game as Riley beats Irv. Moving on to Trevor versus Liam. Liam scored how much? Liam puts up 126 points, which is the surprise of the weekend, but it still comes up short to Trevor's team. Just goes to show what Trevor can do when his team is at full strength. I was going to make some sort of Samuel L. Jackson joke for Trevor, but Liam scoring the third most points this week was the first thing I thought about when I thought about this matchup. But while we're on the subject of Samuel L. Jackson, aka Debo Samuel and Lamar Jackson, they have both accumulated 162 points for Trevor over the first 4 weeks of the season, which is 38% of his total points. Both of them are very, very good and very, very scary to play against. So well done, Trevor. Well done, Liam, for putting up 126. Moving on to Lou versus Dakota. Two Jeffs make a right. Now, bear with me and don't count my words on that last one. But Justin Jefferson and Jeff Wilson come through and contribute to half of Lou's points to get him the win and into the win column for the first time here in 2022. Yeah, low scoring affair. We gotta love it. Lou's on the board, still has a chance at playoffs. Let's do it. Moving on. Tommy versus Jansen. Get off my Nick. Nick Chubb is the top non QB scorer in this one. Jansen shuts up all the haters, mostly me, with another win, handing Tommy his first loss of the season. Um, yeah, just an all around good performance from Jansen. Tommy is hoping for a lot more out of Jonathan Taylor, who's now out for Thursday's matchup. Um, we'll have to watch this team very close, both of these teams, I should say, very closely over the next few weeks to see how they do. Moving on to the last matchup of the week, Kyle versus Max, where I'm forward phrase, corn on the J Cobbs. Now I know this one doesn't make sense, and I can see all you guys cringing from across the screen. But 28 carries and a buck 44, 2 touchdowns had to be mentioned as an absolute optimal, efficient performance from Josh Jacobs. He looked his best. He's looked his best all season last week, and he almost single-handedly beat Max this week. Not almost, but pretty much. But that's it for the forward game. I might bring that back every once in a while, just when I'm bored. But that was a lot of fun to come up with those puns. Um, Sorry if some of them were kind of bad. I know I get a lot of flack for apologizing, but it is what it is. You guys are the ones that have to sit through here and listen. Um, as for, moving on, as far as prediction goes, we were 5-1 last week. The only loss coming from Lou's win over Dakota. Great week. I'm very happy about that. It brings the total on the season to 13-11 for the first time in the all year. We are over 500 in predictions. Let's go. That is what I'm talking about. That I'm very, very hyped about that. Got to keep it going though. Got to keep it going, accumulate this, and we got to do better. We got to do better. We got to run up that win total, minimize that loss total, and make it impressive by the end of the year. So yeah, let's do it on a week 5 predictions. Starting first with me versus Lou. I'm a 22-point favorite. I expect myself to win. Um, I don't know. Do I cover is the question. I think Lewis may cover because I think he's starting to find a stride a little bit. Um, that being said, I still expect me to win. Lewis has only put up 100 points, 1 out of 4, and it was 100 even. And I've put up over 100 points 3 out of 4 times. Um, So I still give the edge to myself this week. I think Lewis is going to have to start the absolute perfect lineup to win. Doesn't have to start the perfect lineup to cover, I don't think, because it also depends on how well my team plays. Um, yeah, moving on. Yeah, like I said, we're going with me in the me versus Lou matchup. But moving on to Riley versus Liam. Riley's a 24-point favorite. I'm expecting him to win and cover, as I do not expect Lightning to strike twice for Liam's roster 2 weeks in a row. Um, if it does, then it won't be as easy as Riley wants it. But if it is, if it doesn't strike twice, if Liam's roster plays like it has the first 3 weeks, I think it'll be smooth sailing for Riley as he will have a winning record by the end of next week. Moving on to Irv versus Max. Irv is a 22-point favorite. I have not been I have not been cashing in when I've been betting on Irv to win, but it is Max that he's playing. So I expect Irv to win and to cover. The bottom line is I just cannot pick Max to win right now. He's put up 108 points total in the last 2 weeks. Um, and this is a trap game because all he has to do is go off, and then my prediction is completely wrong. And he's definitely due to go off. Um, but I just can't, with good faith, put the record on the line and pick him as the upset, not without extra incentives, in my opinion. Um, Moving on to Trevor versus Dakota. Trevor is favored by 11 points. I'm expecting Trevor to win. I'm expecting Dakota to cover. Now, like I said before in the podcast, Trevor is very explosive. I listed off all the players that he has that can just absolutely go off. Um, and it's definitely in my record's best interest to rock with him unless I see something different. Um, Dakota's one of those teams that if you bet against him, you could be very sorry. It's just Trevor's playing really well right now, and I'm thinking that he keeps it rolling. Um, yeah, but what I really hope for this matchup, and I could definitely see it, is I really want it to be high drama, very interesting towards the very end. I think this is a very good matchup and one that I definitely will be peeking at throughout the course of Sunday. But I still think Trevor gets it and ekes out a win. And next game, this is my game of the week, Kyle versus Tommy. Tommy is favored right now by less than 1 point. I think it's like 0.95. I expect Kyle to win and to cover. JT's out. The rest of Tommy's team has, other than Josh Allen, hasn't really shown a whole lot other than maybe 1 week or so every once in a while being a flash in the pan. Um, Whereas Kyle, you're going to have to worry about not only his starters putting up 30, but his bench warmers as well. Not bench warmers, but bench players putting up 30. And I think Kyle can somehow get the right combo to get at least one or maybe two of them in there that'll drop 30. And I really think that Kyle comes away and wins this game. Um, and then our last matchup of the week, we've got Jansen versus Hunter. Jansen is a 13-point favorite. Um, this is my only bold take of the week, and it's not even that bold, as I've been picking not underdogs, favorites in all the matchups, and I know that's gonna bite me in the butt on Sunday. But I'm going to be bold and say that Hunter covers, not wins, but covers. Um, I don't think he puts up 43 points again this week. I know Javante's out, but you got to think his team bounces back a little bit from what had happened last week. But even with that, I still think Jansen wins. I think he does very well this week. Looking at his matchups, there's a whole lot of green on his opponents, or on his players' opponents, which I don't take super seriously, but when there's enough of them, there's bound to be a lot of big numbers coming his way. So yeah, there you have it. Those are my week 5 predictions. Just to recap, picking myself, Riley, Irv, Trev, Kyle, and Jansen. Like I said earlier, no upsets. I know I don't really change them, but I'm kind of scared that I hadn't picked any upsets because that's just not how fantasy football works. But I'm weighing the options, and these are just the best options to pick. Um, and with that being said, I'm trying to add a new wrinkle here, just for fun. I'm going to try to predict the top scorers. Um, this is where I could kind of be a little bit more bold, look like a genius, look like an idiot, or somewhere in between. I'm going to pick Trevor, Jansen, Dakota in that order, being the top scorers. Now, this is what I'm thinking behind it. As I'm thinking Trevor's on such a hot streak. I'm expecting him to put up some good numbers. Jansen, like we just said, has really good matchups. Has been waiting for a week to really break out and show the rest of the league that he's arrived, that he's not a team to be messed with. I think this could be that week for him. And then Dakota, um, I only put Dakota in there was because every week this thus far, has had a losing team in the top three scorers, and I'm sure that's more rare than what it is. But I got to go with the trend, and I think Trevor and Dakota have the best chance of both of them, in terms of matchups. Both of them putting up big numbers, and I'm thinking that's the way to go. And I already bet against Dakota once, and so if he does well, he'll be there, um, up the top, and so it's kind of like a mini hedge of my bet. Um, that being said, I would not be surprised to see Kyle, myself, or Riley up there, but I'm running with Trev, Jansen, Dakota just for fun. Um, so yeah, that'll do it. Thank you guys again for watching. Um, that'll do it for this edition of the podcast. I'll see you guys next week. Peace out, guys.